It's Saturday morning at 10 a.m., so you know what that means. It's time for What's Up, Ocala? With tens of thousands of viewers every month on our YouTube channel and millions so far on TikTok, we are joined by our host, local owner and broker of Great Expectations Realty, Andrea Praber.
Good morning and welcome to What's Up, Ocala. I am your host, Andrea Praber, and I am going to be talking to my very good friend, Macy, this morning. You guys are going to be welcoming her back. Macy, tell everyone who you are, where you work, and how they can get in touch with you.
Hi, my name is Macy McConnell. I work for Brown & Brown Insurance Services, and the best way to get in contact with me is going to be 352-387-4252.
Awesome. Okay, so every time Macy comes in, she comes and shares some Florida insurance stuff that is just awesome. But you actually were mentioning even New Jersey today that you had policies going on. I did not realize this is all over kind of thing.
So being at Brown & Brown and an independent broker, we are number one in the state of Florida, but we happen to also be number 4 globally now.
Wow.
So I have clients as far as Vegas and California, far north as New York and Connecticut. Like we were talking about New Jersey, love that area, but also here in happy, sunny Florida.
Wow. So you could actually work with somebody that maybe lives in a different state and has properties down here or maybe the second home or something like that.
Yeah.
Even. Wow, that's awesome.
We do that all the time.
So what kind of customers are you, because I mean, everybody's been on here and I know you've gotten some phone calls. Thank you all for supporting my people. I appreciate that. I love it. I love it when you support me, but I especially love it when you support those that come on the show and take the time out to explain and educate and sometimes entertain. And so you've gotten some phone calls. So what kind of customers do you personally work with? Because they really love working with you.
I love to hear that. So a lot of the customers that I'm working with directly are going to be more in the high net worth caliber. So that's going to be clients that have a lot of different policies as opposed to just having the one home and maybe one car policy. So the cars may be exceeding like 4 or 5, or you have the home that's, $1 million and above. And then a lot of times, and that's another thing I wanted to talk to you about today, is collection policies. A lot of people are not bringing this up with their clients, and I think that this is something that had they known beforehand, because I had a client a few weeks ago that reached out to me that wished they would have known about a collection policy prior.
Oh, it's one of those things you really, really kind of need to know before there's an incident, not after. That doesn't do you much good.
No, not until after the fact. It doesn't help you any.
Yeah. Well, I personally, with my jewelry and stuff, of course, I have the ring my husband gave to me, of course, but even that's pretty simple. I like, fun jewelry and stuff, but I don't really have any high end. I just have more stuff, from family or something like that. It doesn't have a lot of value. I have a little bit of a fear of wearing something on my hand that's worth more than my hand to somebody else.
Yes.
So I just kind of have that policy in my own little back of my mind or whatever. But what if it's something, seriously sentimental and something that has a lot of value to it and marketable value and maybe resale value, and somebody else says, I'm just going to go ahead and pop over to your house when you're not there and take that.
That's sadly, and it's not even about just the fear of someone coming in your home and taking it or misplacing it or losing, for example, with a collections policy for a set of earrings, which most women, we all like the big and sparkly ones.
I love them.
So when it comes to earrings, for example, if you lose them, let's say you just lose one. I had a client, went to the beach, lost one earring.
I lost one recently. It has no monetary value whatsoever. My daughter made them for me, and it's keys, which obviously, since I'm a real estate broker, and I cannot find it. So I'm trying to figure out how I can remake it before she finds out I lost one. Hopefully she's not watching this.
Doesn't know.
No. So what happens if you lose one earring?
So if you lose one earring, basically what happens within the policy is that you give them the one that you have still, and they will pay you the full amount of the both earrings for the set.
Oh, wow.
So that way, yes, you lost one earring, but at that point, you're still getting compensated for the loss, because at that point, it's a total loss.
Right.
You can't, unless you're Van Gogh, No. You got to have both earrings.
Both earrings. I don't know what it would look like if I tried wearing different earrings.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things like me and you had talked about homeowners policy, and they have sublimits or, limitations within a normal homeowners policy. So it does not matter if you have the heart of the Titanic or a bubblegum ring. If you lose something in your home, it is going to be worth, ranging depending on the carrier, $250 to $500. So if you have someone who has their engagement ring, or, maybe it's a family heirloom. Like I have one for my grandma. She has like rubies and sapphires and things in it. Is it like really that expensive? No. But it's very expensive to me because my grandma had it made and I want it insured. So when it comes to those scenarios, it's about basically mitigating you having that loss and then having to eat the costs of losing something or something getting damaged or stolen. So another part of that, which I think people, kind of overlook, but especially with the homeowner market, because I think we're all feeling the premium increases across the board.
Oh, yes.
Everyone feels it, even my New Jersey clients to my Florida clients.
Even New Jersey.
They don't have it as bad, but I'm like, it's still a conversation everywhere. It's because auto, that's where
Oh, right.
That's for next episode.
Okay.
But when you have all of your valuables, whether it's jewelry, furs, I have a lot of clients with rugs. They have their rugs insured.
Yeah,
and then they'll
expensive.
have sports memorabilia, sports equipment. Then you have your silver, your china, stamps.
Wow.
It all kind of depends on what the collection is. Fine art pieces. So when you have that all scheduled into another policy, you're not relying on your homeowner sublimits or limitations to pay if it was damaged, if it was broken, if it was lost or stolen. So at that point, you are mitigating a claim on your homeowner's policy, because a lot of people, they'll just go ahead and make the claim. They don't get a payout, but maybe $500, maybe even $1,000 if you're with a good carrier. And then now you're stuck with a claim on your homeowners in this tumultuous homeowners market.
That would be
so
awful.
It mitigates hindering the integrity of your policy on that part, because it's completely separate altogether.
Yeah. I mean, even my rather basic ring, this is what I ask for, you guys. Don't fault my husband. I like having the little channel set, with the sapphires and the diamonds. It's still going to be more than $500, especially to replace it. Way more. To me, of course, it's not replaceable, but if a stone were to fall out, all of those things happen. They happen all the time. We hear all the claims. Yeah. So, if something were to, $500, you can't get anything done for $500 with jewelry these days.
No, not now.
Yeah, no, that would not be very helpful.
And then that's where, I've always talked to people. I'm like, what is, always ask them about their hobbies, and that's for, umbrella insurance, excess, because everybody has, that one hobby that you're like, is it making, risky things happen? But with jewelry, I always say, what is your collectors? Like, what do you have a passion for? What do you feel like is always in your house and you're always on the hunt for? Because some people, it's pottery, or taxidermy.
Oh, goodness.
So we insure that too, because
do you really?
Yeah. If you have someone who's an avid hunter and he's paid a lot of money,
sure it's expensive.
I've had one client, he paid for that. He would go shoot a buffalo, had the head done, and then had the whole body get put into a carpet.
Wow.
So that's a lot of money invested on the hunt itself, and then to go ahead and get everything fixed up. So,
oh, wow.
I'm like, he wants to make sure if that gets damaged in any way, shape, or form, he's getting compensated for it.
Yeah. If he can duplicate the effort, time, and money.
Like, I wouldn't want to go sit out there and God knows where, have to wait on something.
I don't know that my hobby would really, we were talking a little bit about it before, but I really love auctions and stuff. And if I get items,
those
I will
impulse buys get everybody every time.
I love it. I love auctions. I love them. So, and I get what I need from it or whatever. And then I disperse the rest of charity from the items, which is fun. It's a lot of fun being able to do that. So, but I don't know that there would be anything of high value with that kind of stuff. I don't know, hey, maybe one of these days, but.
Well, and that's another thing too. A lot of these policies, let's just say someone, regardless if you're really have an affinity for art, jewelry, any type of valuables, and you have a policy, and let's just say that you and your significant other, or you're happy shopper by yourself, go to the auction on the weekend, and you just decide that I want another piece of whatever that you already have scheduled. There's a 90-day window of coverage to incur to add it. Wow. That way, if you're going ahead and buying something, I've had that happen, it's usually, as of lately, it's been my my auto people. They always want to add more to the car collection.
Oh, I'm sure. Probably even to the car itself if they're Jeep people. Jeep people are strong around Ocala. Trucks and Jeeps it's huge. They go mudding out in the forest and stuff all the time.
And like every time someone has like a pretty weather day, they're like, hey, I went go buy an ATV this weekend.
Oh no.
I'm ready for the fun things.
What is that thing that everybody was driving around for a while it's not really a car, but it's not an ATV either. It's
the spiders? I think it's the spiders. Oh no, the slingshots.
Slingshots. That's
what it
the
is.
one. Oh, those were super, super popular. Like last year especially, I heard everybody was talking and trying to get one.
It's like having a motorcycle, with not as many dangers. It's got more wheels.
Well, that helps slightly.
It's got more wheels.
I don't know.
Everybody has their own thing.
So you insure all of this stuff, like basically everything, and then some hobbies, from items to collections to just everything. Taxidermy, I would have never thought of.
And I have a client currently right now. Her and her husband have, they love to travel.
Oh, okay.
And some people, they'll pick up the spoons. I have some, the clients are people who do, they'll get spoons or postcards or stamps or little magnets.
Small things that fit in.
Her and her husband collect bottles of wine to everywhere they go, a lot of different countries, a lot of different states. So her collection is a total, I think, at like $300,000 right now.
Oh, yeah, because every year it increases with wine. Yeah,
and she just... and they'll go somewheres and they'll go find that one bottle to commemorate them going on a trip.
Oh,
and I think that's just so sweet.
It is very sweet. That's something they can pass on to their kids and stuff. But yeah, that's a lot of value over time.
Especially with the way that the wine and the whiskey market, and then, it's something that, like you said, you can pass down and it gains with value.
Wow.
That's awesome. There's not all items, are always going to be up and down with the market, but the value with it on top of that, food for thought. If you are getting these policies, if you are getting appraisals done within 2-year time period, that is a significant discount.
Really?
Significant discount if you're going to go ahead and get an appraisal, because it's really nice to say like, this bracelet is worth $50,000. Insure it for $50,000. If you get an appraisal, you will actually it makes that premium
give an opinion. I see.
Because a lot of people, they'll just, for whatever specific, they're like, I own $200,000 worth of jewelry. I'm just going to do a blanket policy. It gets more expensive because blanket policies are just basically mysterious items as a whole. If you're going ahead and scheduling out each item and taking the time, and yes, it does take time to have a conversation with your broker, but they're going to be there for you all the way. I said, but a lot of times I tell, my clients, I'm like, do the time now, because if you're it's the one piece of jewelry that you don't have listed on your policy as scheduled, that's the one you're going to miss.
Yeah, probably.
And then we're going to have to make sure that we have a blanket over that to make sure that we're accounting for ones that you may have forgotten about.
Oh, that would just absolutely break my heart. If just the few pieces of jewelry that I have, they're more sentimental than anything, something my grandmother gave me or something that my father sent to me from my other grandmother after she passed away. That would absolutely just kill me if I could not replace that. If anything actually did happen to it. So yeah, that's rough. My husband, actually, I'm going to have to give him kudos. He is going through a clean out phase right now after 10 years of not me nagging, but I was nagging. But anyway, he had a storage unit.
I was like, he must have been strong that day.
Well, this year we wanted to try to, get even finer on our budget and really, so since January we've really been hardcore at this even before January. So stuff that's on our to-do list from, the last few years, we're actually getting to it. We are really, really getting into it, which is great. And I think a lot of people are starting to do the same thing, which is great. So he had a storage unit and he went in and cleared it out and he's going through the stuff, but he is coming across baseball cards and stamps and all sorts, because this man does not throw things away. Okay.
They normally don't.
And he is a little bit older than me. So he would go to the Cubs games constantly when he was a kid back in the 60s and 70s and primarily the 60s. So he had a whole slew of baseball cards that literally looked like they just got printed yesterday. And I'm looking at them like, oh, these are going to have so much value. No, they don't. No, they don't. But to him, there is a lot of value to them. And that's something that, he can pass down to our son and stuff. So, that's something very, very much that I would not want to just leave open. I would want at least that to be insured. But I don't know that there's really a value to that right now. So what would you do with something like that?
So, and at that point, a lot of times, most brokers who are dealing with carriers that have these policies, there's a network of people that we're in contact with, whereas appraisers, everybody knows somebody who's in that type of spectrum or that realm. So we can go ahead and advise you, let's go have a conversation with X, Y, and Z. That way we can see what the appraisal is. Because at the same time you can't really replace something that's from the 60s with like, kind, and value because it's from the 60s.
No, he is definitely a very unique individual to have had this stuff.
Because that's what all those policies are really intended for, is if I lose something, I'm either getting the value for it, or if they're replacing it, because sometimes in the policies, they can go ahead and replace it. Mm-hmm. But it has to be like, kind, and value. So that means I can't just say that like I lost, a whatever type of bracelet with 16 diamonds and you give me a bracelet with 1 diamond on it. That's not like, kind, or value.
Right.
So it has to be equivalent. If they're going to replace it, it has to be equivalent.
Gotcha. So, but I mean, for him, baseball cards, for example, and there was a whole slew of them. That's why I'm using this as an example. Baseball cards, they sometimes are really, really high up in value, and sometimes they're worth absolutely not even the paper they're printed on. So how often, just as that example, how often should you go and get your items appraised?
It depends on the item, because jewelry, they like it. I guess as long as you're reshopping your policies, probably 2 years within you wanting to remarket your policy.
Okay.
But items, at least go ahead and do it every about 5 years, 5 to 10 years, because at that point you're getting a good part of the market. Now, when it comes to cards, it's going to be, what card is it? Because baseball cards are hot. Yeah. Pokemon cards have been. Oh,
no.
Yes.
Are you joking? No.
They have not gone away, girl. They are here to stay.
Goodness.
A lot of people are insuring them because and when it comes to those types of cards and stamps and those things, it's all going to be about the edges, the condition, which card it is, what's circulation of the card. So like, same thing as baseball and Pokemon cards. I always say those are those 2 examples. That, they have the first generation, or you have somebody who has a specific player, was it signed? Are the edges, kind of a little bit tarnished because, the kids used to play with them.
Right.
So it all depends on how safeguarded the card was. Then it gets evaluated that way.
Wow. Yeah. That's a lot. It is a lot. Because these are little pieces of cardboard.
Oh yeah, these things were not meant to last. Like, this is not.
That's crazy.
They weren't made out of titanium and mortar.
Pretty sure when they were printing these up in like the early '60s or something, they were not going. I'm pretty sure we need to save this for 2024.
They thought it was going to get chewed up as the gum it came with.
Yeah, they thought it was going to get put on the spokes of a bicycle, probably.
Yeah.
And moved on.
That's what happened to a lot of them.
Yeah, it did. According to my husband, I was like, I hope you did not do that with any rookie cards. That's all I can say is.
I know, and there's a whole collection, but as long as like you're getting your appraisals done, I think working with your broker and having those conversations and just kind of, if that's not a question that someone's asking you, then go ahead and bring up it in conversation. I have XYZ as a collection. I have a few items, and it doesn't matter if it's one significant item you want to talk about or, 10 to 20. As long as you're having that conversation and looking into, this is something I would like to safeguard. What would you advise me on that? And I think a lot of times that can pivot the conversation, because if someone doesn't know how to advise you, then maybe that's not,
Yeah.
Not all agents are made the same. But at the same time, is that kind of gives you a pinpoint of, I need advisement on this, and go find someone who's going to advise, where the appraisers are, what kind of policies would benefit, because there's certain carriers I feel like that play better with certain collectible items than others. So it just kind of depends, especially in the market the way it is now. This is not tumultuous. The homeowner market is tumultuous, but a lot of times with my high net worth clients, they are able to do the bundles because they're working with a carrier that's Pure or Chubb, Berkeley One, Vault. Those are blue chip carriers, and they're doing their auto, they're doing all their collection policies, they're doing their umbrella or excess policies, and anything else that they need. Because a lot of times people have multiple homes. I have one client, they have a house here in Florida. They have two houses here in Florida, and they have a house in New York, and they have a house in Vegas. It's all with one carrier, and it's all bundled together.
That's awesome.
So it just, when you get into that tier, when you have that type of client, it gets really condensed, but it's one complicated program. But, you're just talking to one person and you're talking to one carrier, which I always tell clients, the benefit of being with one carrier over having several policies is that it does not matter where the claim is coming from or why the claim is coming, because there's one person who's paying.
Right.
So at that point, you kind of mitigate having, some carriers have the he said, she said situation of like, that's your responsibility. That's your responsibility. If you're with one carrier for everything and it's all grouped together, that carrier's paying that claim regardless.
Gotcha.
And then another thing with blue chip carriers, they have an amazing claims process that they will pay all of their claims 48 hours or less.
Wow. That's really unheard of. That's crazy.
It's different. It's a whole different ball game. But I think we had talked about, a lot of people, they want to just shuffle, information in. They want a quick quote. They just want to bind and they want to move on. They want to get the cheapest price. These policies are not
15 minutes or less.
I remember. Yeah. I said 30, Yeah,
we'll say that.
But a lot of times with these policies, we have prior inspections. They go out to the home. We have a high value team that does the inspections because they know that a lot of clients, they have very specific materials used in their home. If the client got, marble imparted from Italy, that needs to be notated. It's not just,
I just had that conversation with some of my agents on our last sales meeting because we've had people call into our office and say, hey, I need to know what my house is worth. And they want to know over the phone without us taking a look at the house. And it's
sight unseen.
Sight unseen. What's it worth? Here's
Do you have a crystal ball too?
Yes. And I was just like, okay. Well, you can get that on Zillow pretty easily. I have a love-hate relationship with Zillow because it is very user-friendly and it's great to start the conversation. But as you actually have a need for detailed information, that's where it's lost. It's because again, it's an algorithm, it's a computer. So they're trying to use the agents here as computers, and I'm like, you guys, stop doing that. Because sometimes they'll just give it me like, here you go, here's what, based on the square footage, here's the amount. And I was like, you really can't do that. You have to go and see the house. Because again, if they've put in like marble countertops, or if they even fence their yard, now that's eliminating the comps for all of the new construction maybe in the area, because new construction doesn't have fencing ever. So, if there's a swimming pool, all of these things that have been added or, done to it. Does it have a new roof? All of these things matter when you look at the market price for a home. So you can't just, here it is. Nope. It's like
everybody thinks that there's this magic system that has the perfect number.
Yeah. And then it's like, oh, well, you're just trying to, get something. It's like, why would I get anything out of
No, there's nothing to get out. Because a lot of times, like,
it's kind of crazy.
And it's all how the home is evaluated. You know, like some people have, you know, like a formal living room, and then they'll have, you know, a secondary living room that's a little bit more casual, you know, for the family to actually sit in, the one that's pretty in the front.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then, you know, they have the special, you know, furniture that you can also put on a collections policy.
Yeah.
But
it's different. You have to adjust.
Yes.
Yeah. And it requires actual in-depth, like, let's take a look at this, because, you know, maybe they don't realize.
Well, like,
that's
I have
a huge
one
upgrade.
client here in Ocala, you know, they have a lot of special sconces that got imported.
Oh.
And I mean, beautiful as the day is long. But I mean, that's all it you know, evaluated into the cost of the home, because, like, kind and value, you're not going to go to Home Depot and find those sconces just on display.
Lighting is everything, honestly, because I know one house that is, you know, it had a buyer for it, and the homeowner had done the pictures and everything, and then they had removed a chandelier. And the buyer said, I fell in love with the chandelier first and then fell in love with the house. I no longer want the house if it doesn't have that chandelier.
It happens. It happens.
It does. And it's like, to the seller, you know, they didn't realize that was a big deal, but it really was. It really was.
There's
Do not make
specific
changes.
things in the house that, you know, a lot of people are like, I love that for that reason.
Yeah. It absolutely is. So, and again, there's no way that you could find something like that just by an address. You have absolutely no idea. So it is very important to get all the information, get the details with that, especially if you're giving an opinion of value.
Oh yeah, because a lot of times with the market, and a lot of times, you know, and it depends on the area. It depends on how tumultuous it gets, because it definitely depends on the area.
Yeah.
You know, here in Ocala, a lot of the homes, you know, they're older.
Yes.
So it is a lot of how much renovation has been done. You know, I have, you know, when we talked about the fire departments, we have a $3 million house here that had major issues to go ahead and close on, just for the simple fact of it being in the area that it was in. Didn't matter how, I mean, this thing was immaculate of a house, but it was still problematic.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of times people think it's all very quick and easy, and I'm like,
it's not. We're not trying to make our jobs more difficult. I promise we do not want to do that.
I'm not trying to siphon all your information. I just need to know the details so I can help you. Help me help you.
Of that, when somebody calls you up and they're like, okay, here's my app, and I know they do this to you, because I know the customers I've sent to you. Love you guys. But I know that they call up and they're like, okay, here's my address. How much is the insurance going to be? That is an impossible question to answer. It's absolutely impossible.
I'm like, what they really want me to say, I'm like, I promise it's going to be under $1,000, and I'm going to ship it in a unicorn just for you.
But I mean, you not only have to find out the value of the house and how much to insure it, but you also have to figure out how close it is to, like, a fire hydrant or a fire station. You have to figure out if it's concrete block or if it's frame, because we did mention that before, how old it is.
Oh, yeah.
And you also have to figure out if the roof was done. And then that's not even getting into what they want in the policy, which could, I mean, that's an endless amount of questions.
Because a lot of people, this has been a good for the homeowners, food for thought. So RCEs, this is a hot topic. So replacement cost estimators are what all of the carriers are using in the algorithms to go ahead and see what's your square footage, what's your materials for the house, X, Y, and Z factors to go ahead and say your house is worth X amount per square foot.
In order to replace it.
And that doesn't matter if you're in a high value home or you're in everybody else's. So with that being said, a lot of people in their mind, I've been paying my mortgage for 10 odd something years. I feel like I don't need to have it for the full amount because my loan isn't that much. They think that they can cut the cost of the premium because they wanted to kind of cut the cost of the dwelling amount. I'm going to tell you that's the quickest way to get canceled. They will non-renew you, or they will cancel you mid-policy, because that's a lot of issues for them, because in their mind, they know the carrier themselves are on the hook for the value of that home. So if you've somehow gotten it through their system, through whatever fabrication, that's technically lying on the application, because you're saying the home is worth X amount, and not due to the market, inflation, or any of those things, magically became another number. If you were to have a loss, it's just not a game that anybody wants to play. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah. And there is, as you said, volatility in...
It's so tumultuous. Everybody's getting non-renewed for the littlest of things. Don't make that be the one thing.
Awesome. All right. So that is it for us for today, I believe. Thank you so much, Macy, for coming in and going over insurance with us. If you guys have questions for Macy and you want her to discuss it on a show and go into details on it, maybe if you're from another state or something like that, of course you can reach out to her, or you can go ahead and put it in the comments section of this video or on our Facebook page, and we will go ahead and make sure that our next video with Macy covers those questions for you.
We'll do a Q&A.
We will do a Q&A. I would have fun with that. I think that's a great idea. So
I would love to hear from you guys and see what questions that you have.
Yes, absolutely. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Always.
And one more time, how do people get in touch with you?
If you would like to speak with Macy, you use the phone number 352-387-4252.
Awesome. Thanks so much again.
Thanks, guys.
You've been listening to What's Up, Ocala? Follow us all week on Andrea Praber's YouTube channel and TikTok. We'll see you next week at 10 a.m. on What's Up, Ocala.